same, in that both AT&T and Verizon are the US's largest telecoms companies. Same too in that they confront an identical market and customer base. Different, however, in how they have designed their strategies for the road ahead as they adapt to evolving market realities. See, whilst the telecommunications industry of the United States is enormous, it is unfortunately undergoing a period of stagnation. Little to no growth whatsoever is expected in this market, with the subscription market's barrel having been scraped fully. The lack of upbeat prospects in the telecommunications world is now forcing the two giants to adapt their strategies and explore new avenues for growth. And both companies remain busy on making their strategies work. But what's interesting is how divergent they actually are. In this video, we will explore how this is the case and which strategy holds the most promising outlook, if any. But before anything else, let's shower some context and uncover the history of these two behemoths. Throughout the previous decade, companies like Verizon and AT&T competed over subscribers for their smartphone and 4G products. Both were quick to adopt the 4G bandwagon and have remained dominant ever since, trampling over competitors like Sprint and T-Mobile on the way. However, now that virtually everybody is a smartphone user, there aren't many customers that the networks can scramble over. In other words, it has now become a saturated market, thereby explaining the abysmal growth prospects as mentioned above. The next big challenge for these companies as they tread forwards is to firstly find innovative ways of entertaining their existing customer base, and secondly, to win the intensifying race over the 5G rollout. The reality is the same, but the response that is unearthed from both champions is what's different. Different enough to warrant a video, that's for sure. In essence, both companies aspire to survive in the long term and maintain relevance in an increasingly tight telecom sector. So, now that we understand a little about the market that these companies are sailing in, let's jump into the survival strategies that they've adopted. Let's begin with the champion of diversification, AT&T. AT&T, eggs in multiple baskets. In the simplest of terms, AT&T has hedged its bets on diversification. AT&T's leadership was aware that its core product is no longer as profitable as it once was, and that the era of bygone days is not coming back. As a result, AT&T decided to expand its profit streams and offer a wider range of products and services. In 2015, it made its first venture outside the telecommunications territory and purchased DirecTV for a staggering $49 billion. For the first time, AT&T was now a provider of direct television subscriptions, albeit at a large upfront cost. 3 years later, AT&T made the leap to purchase Time Warner Inc. for over $80 billion. This caused AT&T's debt to skyrocket, which now stands at over $175 billion, making some investors a little nervous. Nevertheless, AT&T's grand purchase of Time Warner gave it command over widely watched TV channels like CNN and HBO, as well as filmmaker Warner Bros. Studios. So, why did AT&T choose media as its backup option? Ostensibly, they were most likely influenced by Sumner Redstone's playbook, in which he famously emphasized that content is king. You can check out a video on that, I'll put a link in the description below. Furthermore, AT&T's CEO at the time, Randall Stephenson, lamented on how companies like his pour millions into building communications infrastructure, yet it's content creation companies, e.g. Netflix, that reap most of the profits. In other words, Mr. Stephenson wasn't particularly amused that his company's investment was rewarding the majority of its yields to those that used the infrastructure instead of those who spent money to build it. This isn't to suggest that telecommunications companies make losses by building network infrastructure, but that others tend to ride on their investments for free. In Randall's mind, this was simply unacceptable. As a result, it made sense for him to take a risk and branch out into other services, even if AT&T's specialty did not initially lie there. In the boardrooms of AT&T, the hope is that if profits ever falter from its telecommunications stream, the profits from Time Warner will keep it afloat. Perhaps they have a valid point. Returning to the content is king principle, the customer's end product is almost always going to be quality content. So, if AT&T can provide the content at a desirable quality, then it can capitalize on both the source of the content and the mechanism of its distribution. What's more, the market trends are growing pointedly towards the immutable power of content as the driver of business success. When 21st Century Fox, the maker of all-time legendary films, was put on sale, it led to a literal bidding war where multiple buyers fought tooth and nail to bag the prize. The purchase of Time Warner by AT&T then could signal that AT&T are simply keeping abreast of the times and the accompanying market trends. Conversely, as some skeptics have suggested, it could signal a risky gamble. Firstly, AT&T's record since 2015 does not show promising signs. DirecTV's acquisition is not proving profitable, and most customers appear to be flocking to other streaming services like Amazon Prime, Disney+, and the current king of streaming, Netflix. Whilst the future of television undoubtedly lies in streaming, AT&T's bid may not grant it the trophy it was searching for. AT&T still holds HBO and its popular Game of Thrones in its possession, but its dreams of rivaling the giants in the industry may be somewhat too ambitious for a company that is new to this area. Furthermore, the stock market isn't entirely convinced by AT&T's strategy yet. As of 2019, AT&T had undergone a 17% loss in satellite and cable customers, far higher than what Verizon lost in the same timeframe. But all is not lost, however. Despite being eyeballs deep in debt, AT&T's revenue streams are diverse, making it more immune to market fluctuations within a specific sector. In the least, 20% of its revenue flows from content-producing assets, which could act as a helpful buffer should the telecommunications industry fail to steam ahead. What the future holds for this company, only time can tell. The theory behind its expansion into the media world is certainly valid. Whether it shall prove successful largely depends on whether AT&T can implement it correctly. Ultimately, only time will reveal how seamlessly and flawlessly AT&T masters this endeavor, if it ever does. Competition is gearing up, however, and the stakes remain high. Let's see how Verizon, AT&T's primary competitor, is confronting this challenge. Verizon, mastering the trade. If AT&T's strategy can be summed as diversification, then Verizon's strategy can be summed as a razor-sharp concentration. In other words, the polar opposite of its rival's move. When Verizon's leadership awoke to a withering telecommunications market, it decided to hammer the nail in deeper and master the trade it already dominated. In 2018, Verizon's newly appointed CEO Hans Vestberg calculated that his company's future lay in wireless technology. The task on its hands, therefore, was to throw all of its bucks on providing an impeccable wireless service to all of its customers by assertively releasing 5G faster than any of its rivals could even blink an eye. In following this path, Verizon hopes to capture large customers like city governments, hospitals, and office buildings, and offer them a reliable 5G service of laser-fast speeds. Furthermore, Verizon remains confident regarding the long-term applicability of 5G, as it's expected to play a pivotal role in fielding many emerging technologies like virtual reality, smart devices, Internet of Things, and artificial intelligence. Keeping mastery at the heart of its strategy, Verizon spent $130 billion to buy out Vodafone's 45% stake in Verizon Wireless in 2013. This set up the path for the company to focus on improving its current network, as well as developing and building its 5G service in the US. It is still very much on the way in achieving that objective, as the process is proving cumbersome and expensive. Nevertheless, as evident in its stellar customer ratings, Verizon still offers the fastest and most reliable connection speeds across the country. And whilst Verizon's primary goal is to sharpen its initial product offerings, it hasn't left the media world entirely untouched. Instead, its investment in content-producing companies has been rather modest. In 2015, Verizon purchased AOL for $4.4 billion, which included the premier liberal newspaper Huffington Post. A year later, it added Yahoo to the bundle for $4.8 billion. Verizon has preferred partnerships with existing companies as opposed to outright acquisitions. Sticking to its preferences, Verizon has nurtured partnerships with existing players of the trade, most notably Disney+ and Apple Music. This has enabled the operator to bundle these popular streaming services within its various subscription packages. Whilst Verizon cannot claim the entire stream of revenue from distributing Apple Music and Disney+, it is spared from the expensive and risk-filled mission of either acquiring stream technologies or investing heavily to build it from scratch. On the other hand, however, its long-term profitability is far more reliant on a single stream of income, namely its wireless telecommunications service. What's more, its bid to become the king of 5G is facing multiple roadblocks, including competition from emerging rivals like T-Mobile, which acquired Sprint, as well as the burdensome costs of building 5G towers in a country as vast as the United States. So in a nutshell, Verizon decided to play it safe when it comes to mastering the delicate world of content production and mass media. Compared to its rival AT&T, this can be deemed a more prudent strategy, demanding less in terms of mammoth acquisition costs. As a result, Verizon's total debt stands measurably lower than that of AT&T's total debt. Unlike its chief rival, Verizon has enjoyed a better ride in the stock market too. For the last 5 years, Verizon is up by 65% compared to AT&T's meager 6.2%, including dividends, even after years of sluggish growth or no growth at all. In the short term at least, the stock market appears to show more confidence in Verizon's strategy, though it would be foolish to extrapolate long-term success based on that information alone. So, who shall prevail? Despite Verizon's more promising short-term results, it is crucial to remember that both AT&T and Verizon are engaging in the long game. Their challenge isn't solely to produce results tomorrow, but for the many decades that lie ahead. On that front, only time will judge as to whether AT&T's expansionary strategy will prevail over Verizon's comparatively conservative strategy, or vice versa. And, truth be told, the experts remain torn on this question too. Some advocate the virtues of banking on your strengths. On that metric, they are likely to speak more favorably of Verizon's strategy. Conversely, others argue the merits of not putting all your eggs in one basket. Sound piece of investment advice, though whether it applies to AT&T remains blanketed in a mysterious future. But regardless of whose strategy prevails, it's unlikely that the loser will collapse and die, simply because both Verizon and AT&T are still big enough to cushion any moderate setbacks. Ultimately, business is a complex realm, and the success of one company over another depends on a multitude of complex and intermingling factors. So for now, the simplest answer we can settle with is time will tell. Until then, hold on tight. So, which do you think is the better strategy? And how do you think Verizon and AT&T will stand up to the challenge mounted by the now larger T-Mobile? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. If you've enjoyed this, please consider giving this video a thumbs up and subscribing. Thank you all for watching. I will see you soon. Continue to share great business stories, past and present, and whatever else happens in the business world. So, thank you all, and have an excellent rest of your day.